He's out of there. Going back to work.
Thank you. You Brendan Collins?
Yes, sir.
Welcome. This is our witness stand. Can you go over here, please? When you get there, just remain standing for a bit. Raise your right hand and be sworn.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And state your full legal name for the record.
Brendan Collins.
Please spell your first and last name for the court reporter.
My first name is spelled B-R-E-N-D-A-N. My last name is spelled C-O-L-L-I-N-S.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Collins, that microphone in front of you, adjust up or down. It doesn't move back and forth.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, you may.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Collins. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well.
Where are you employed?
I'm an FBI agent. So I'm employed by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and my full job title is Supervisory Special Agent.
And how long have you held that position?
This current position, about 18 months. I've been employed by the FBI for since 2012.
And as far as education, what types of degrees do you hold?
I have a bachelor's.
And is it in a specific area?
I was a history major in college.
Were you employed anywhere else prior to working for the FBI?
By the Army.
And how long were you employed by the Army?
About 6.5 years. I had a couple different jobs.
Okay. Going back to where you're working now, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, what are your responsibilities as an FBI agent?
Well, agents do all sorts of different things. Generally, agents are all investigators, and in the FBI, we investigate a myriad of crimes from violent crimes, economic crimes. We also have national security mandates. Me specifically right now, I'm the supervisor of a squad that focuses on transnational organized crime.
So do you also have an ancillary assignment?
Not right now, I used to.
Would you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is the CAST team?
The feds in here, gang.
So CAST, for the Cellular Analysis Survey Team, is a group of specially trained and equipped agents and task force officers who do cellular analysis or mobile device location analysis.
This is the
When
expert.
you say that, what types of records are you working with?
Usually records from phone companies or other service providers.
Okay. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is historical cell site analysis?
Sure. So when someone uses a phone or a mobile device to do something, to make a call, to send or receive a text, to check a sports score, or check their email, post something on social media, has to connect to the cellular network or through the internet. When you connect through the cellular network, there's a record that's generated by your phones, by the phone company. So if you have T-Mobile, gives you service to your cell phone. When you make a call, you'll see records on your T-Mobile sheets about that call. Historic cell site analysis is using those records to answer questions.
So what's the purpose of historical cell site analysis?
To help with investigations.
And what are the main components of a historical cell site analysis?
Well, if you're being asked to do like a location analysis, in other words, the case involves trying to determine where a particular device was at a certain point in time, you really have three things that you need. First, you need the records for that particular device. That will say that the initial records, like a call detail record, for instance, will sort of look like a billing statement that you might get from a phone company. It will say, this date and time, this phone number, place this call to this other number, etc. Except it will also have additional information. It will say a cell tower that the phone connected to when it made that call. So you need that record about the device. You also need a record of tower locations that says, okay, the tower the phone connected to is located at this particular point on the Earth. You put those two things together into some sort of mapping software and it plots it, and then it will give you a general area of where the device was at the time that it connected to that tower.
So you said device. Can you testify a specific person was in a specific area?
No,
Why not?
because the records I have are just about devices.
Okay. So there are limitations to your testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm talking about devices, not people.
Have you received any specialized training to become an agent that does CAST as
Yes.
well? What is that?
To be CAST certified is pretty extensive. There's several stages that the certification process is broken into. So I started my initial training in 2017. The first phase of training is the CAST basic course. That's a 2 or 3 day course where agents and officers from our local, state, or other federal agencies are exposed to what cellular analysis is and how to do it at the basic level.
Do you use the CAST work in your day-to-day cases? Before you became a supervisor?
Yes.
And so is this a required assignment to go to the CAST team?
Then I don't want to interrupt, but there's a lot more training than just that 2-day thing. Is that okay?
Oh, well, let's start with, to do that first 2-day training.
Yeah, so the first
Is that
2 days-
mandatory for the
Yes,
FBI?
yeah.
To go on past that,
Yeah.
is that something you have to apply for?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and to explain after that first initial training, what happens? What's the next level of training you complete?
So the next course is called the advanced course, and it's a week-long course. And that's just a more in-depth dive into each of the networks. So specifically, what are the uniquenesses of, say, Verizon or T-Mobile, AT&T, Sprint when it was a standalone provider? What do their records look like? What are their uniquenesses of the way their network's designed, et cetera. After the advanced course, then we have a sort of a test. It's like a week long. When I went through, it was a mix of part in the classroom and part in the field, where it's all scenario based. So you, for instance, you'd be like a kidnapping scenario. You'd be like, hey, this child was abducted. Maybe your job is the asset going through it to try and use the records to develop a search location and say, hey, I think that we need to go here to try and recover the child. You do a portion in the classroom, you do a portion in the real world where they have test runs set up at different locations, and you validate the results right there. So you either find the person or you wouldn't, and at the end you either pass or fail. So I passed, and I was allowed to continue to the certification course, which is a 4-week course. The first 2 weeks are very academic. We have a week that's basically a semester's worth of material condensed into a week. It's put on by professors from the Florida Institute of Technology. We bring in representatives from all the major cell phone providers in the U.S., both their law enforcement relations and records custodians personnel. We talk about these are the types of records that we keep in our specific record, our specific company. We also bring in personnel from the network engineers, so the people who build the network, who design it. We go to infrastructure, so I've been at the Sprint Network Operations Center where they oversee the management of the whole network across the country, et cetera. And then at the end of that, there's a test, and you either pass and are certified, or you don't.
Okay, so Special Agent Collins, are you certified in CAST analysis?
Yes.
How long have you held that certification for?
I got certified in September of 2018.
Is there continuing education or recertification that's required?
Yes, so to keep your CAST certification, every year you have to attend a recertification course.
Okay. Is all of the training specifically from the FBI?
No.
What other agencies and, I guess, companies do the training for you?
Yes, we have partnerships, or not partnerships, but we'll bring in educators from a lot of different companies. So obviously the different telecommunications companies are critical. So we have them come to the recertification conference every year. We've had a range of other people. We've had Apple, Qualcomm, Oracle, people in the field of GPS, cellular engineering, vehicles for vehicle telematics, and anybody that's sort of involved in that ecosystem.
Okay, so you mentioned Apple, Qualcomm. What are those?
Those are different manufacturers.
Is there also specific as to cellular technology and how it works, training on that?
For what?
In terms of being a CAST certification?
After recertification?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been specializing in call detail records analysis?
So, call detail record analysis.
They got to
is
establish
the-
his history,
the
chat. They got to
bread
make
and
sure
butter
like
of
he's the
what
guy.
CAS does.
He's gonna be breaking out a
So,
lot.
Since I started, the
I might have to go get some
training
Henny for this one. I ain't gonna hold you.
You know, it's when I first really got exposed to working call detail records or CDRs.
Okay, and approximately how many times have you done this type of analysis?
I've done more than 130 cases and that have, included more than approximately 300 sets of records.
When you say a set of records?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like a call detail record or an engineering report, some sort of data report, some sort of report from a phone company about a particular device.
And in terms of the types of cases that you've worked, what have they been?
Again, violent crimes like homicides or shootings, white-collar crimes, I've done public corruption, crimes against children, terrorism.
Okay. Have you worked cases where you've been called upon to determine the location of a cell phone?
Yes.
How many?
I mean, for the 130 so cases that I've helped with,
Yeah.
the vast majority of those have to do with location, historical location of the phone.
Have you had the opportunity to validate your historical call data reconstructions, or that you do?
Yes.
And how do you do that?
Well, as we mentioned sort of during the, I was talking about the train up, if it's a situation, a case where we're trying to find someone who we believe is in possession of the device, and you do an analysis and you say, I think we need to go to this house, and you go there and the person and the phone are there, that's validation. If we have a case where we have some sort of other evidence that corroborates it, like in a crimes against children case, and there's metadata on media that was produced at a specific location, and we have cell site that says, okay, we know this film or something was produced here, and here's what the cell site looks like, and that corroborates it. A couple examples.
So when you say metadata, can you explain what that is?
Yeah, I mean, that's outside of what I do with CAST, but that would be something that would be in a media file perhaps, that somebody else who, if you extract the file from the phone using a physical extraction device or a computer or some other device, sometimes there's metadata embedded within the image or video or whatever that will tell you different things, such as when the picture or movie was produced, where it may have been produced, or the picture may have been taken, etc.
Here at this time, I would offer Special Agent Collins as an expert in the area of historical cell site and cellular technology, and offer for Water.
Hey, you want to come side for a second?
Okay, happening one.
Report, you said we would
Excuse
agree.
me, I only want to hear from one. Whose witness is this going to be?
This is my witness, Judge.
All right, so you make the objection. So this is an order on the admissibility of expert witness testimony by Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent Brendan Collins. Let me read it. This is your order to the judge. Says here, defendant stipulated to the admissibility at trial of the expert testimony of Special Agent Brendan Collins in the area of cellular phone forensics. This stipulation includes Special Agent Collins' testimony regarding the cellular analysis survey team CAST report.
What the fuck?
And based upon the defendant's stipulation, it is ordered and judged that Special Agent Collins' expert testimony in the area of cellular phone forensics and on the CAST report is admissible at trial. What's the issue?
So I believe counsel is trying to state that we are going to object to the admissibility of the CAS report. We had stipulated to his testimony after deposing him And then I will also bring to the record, she's trying to bring in 3 different CAS reports when we had deposed Agent Collins. We only had deposed him as to 1 CAS report. We had extensive conversations about whether the state would be bringing in the additional CAS reports. We had agreed at that time, if they were going to bring in those reports, she would let us know and we would depose him again. That never happened. We were always told it would be the 1 report of the 2 phone numbers,
We're objecting to the admissibility.
and which we are objecting to the admissibility of those reports based on hearsay. Also, they are misleading, and also the information in those reports have not been properly validated by an engineer.
Okay, so as of April 4th, 2022, what report was in existence as far as Special Agent Collins?
So the first one that was with regards to Anthony Williams' cell phone, as well as Mr. Demon's cell phone. That one was
What
done.
other reports are out there?
The other ones were generated in May of 2022 and immediately turned over to Defense Counsel, and I have a very different recollection of that. This was listed at the same time as Mr. Zeller that we just had, so there was never any additional request to depose this witness. But Special Agent Collins has been available for the last however long if they so chose to do so.
And Judge, I would just for the record make an objection to her characterizing that particular phone that is actually registered to J.B. King as Mr. Demon's phone. I don't believe that has been established.
Thank you. So what is the report?
Judge, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I asked for the report. I need to know what the report says. I'm not familiar with it.
Yes, sir. So they're all substantially similar. They do different cell phones at different times. That one is the one of Mr. Demons and Mr. Williams, explaining how the cellular
Objection again.
explaining how.
I don't understand. I'm asked for what the report is. I want to see it, and you say objection again. What's your objection?
My objection is to the characterization
He's
of
tight.
that it's Mr. Demon's phone
Thank
and
you.
Mr. Williams' phone, actually.
Finally get a look at the gallery,
Yes.
at least one side of it.
Emailed it to Miss Liberty.
Can we see anybody who's Melly's family? I guess the mom would be sitting up front. Why does white girl over here look like old Vicky? Right here.
Thank you.
Who are these people? Can't really identify anybody in there.
So what is, Agent Collins going to do?
Agent Collins would testify as to how he does the analysis, how he generates those timing advance bands, and what it means as to the location of the cellular.
Oh shit, Chad, it is Will Vicky. Look right here.
Used, there was a question if Jameson Francois' CAS report would be used. She didn't give us a definitive answer. We finally rested on the fact that she was not going to be using Mr. Francois' phone. So it is a little bit of surprise that is now being introduced at trial. And the other one, I believe with Withers, we never ever discussed it.
Hold on.
It's
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
I don't fully understand this order dated April 22nd. It says, order to judge a special agent Collins' expert testimony in the area of cellular phone forensics and on the CAS report. So he's going to testify. I wouldn't normally admit a CAS report. I don't see why it would come in here. I don't see this specifically saying it's admissible. I see it's saying Special Agent Collins' expert testimony in the area of the cellular phone forensics and on the CAS reports in this lawsuit. He can testify. He's here. You can ask him questions that you want, but I don't believe I'd be letting this into evidence. It's just, he's here. His testimony is his testimony.
And so, with regards to that, the necessity
Finally,
of the maps.
a win for
is
Melly,
that
small win for Melly. They had multiple reports that this guy kind of like did or whatever. They didn't tell the defense they were going to admit it. Now they're saying, oh, we want to admit it and we want to have him like testify. They're like, no, you're not admitting it. Just ask the nigga questions, man.
Well, he can show it as a demonstrative aid if that's going to help him illustrate his testimony. I don't have an issue with that. If that's a different question for me. Typically, we don't just admit an expert's report. The expert's here is going to testify.
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry.
And it's not clear for me from this order that that's what Judge Siegel anticipated, that the report was coming in. I don't have any issue regarding his testimony. They're not even, the defense indicated they're not even going to board to hire him regarding his qualifications. So, he's able to testify. But as far as the report coming in, I don't read your order that way, respectfully.
Understood. So, Your Honor, then if I can show the admissibility of the maps with that on there, then you would evaluate them as they're offered individually.
I don't have an issue. I mean, if he's able to identify them and talk to them, that's a different issue. You're wanting to admit the whole report in as the way I understand it, as substantive evidence. And typically that's not the way it's done. I mean, the testimony is the testimony of the witness, not the report. Otherwise it's cumulative, it's duplicative of whatever he was going to testify to. I don't see, the order talks about a date in April. This report was given after that date. I don't know if this is what the judge intended. You said there were some amendments. I don't know what the amendments are. I don't know if they were approved by the defense. They're saying they're objecting to it. Typically, that's just not done the way it's being done, putting in the document.
So, Your Honor, there are quite a number of cases on that specific issue, which I'm happy to provide the court.
What specific issue? About a report coming in?
About the maps and the mapping being admissible. So that would be...
I'm not concerned about the mapping. I'm concerned about the report per se.
Well, I just want to make sure we're clear on what specifically. So some of them, this specific items are demonstrative on that. So for example, when and I can put it up so everybody can see so it's clear. So Special Agent Collins, I would anticipate, would testify that, for example, there is cell tower usage and how that would be displayed on that. So that wouldn't be confused with cell site usage. So that's because there could be the possibility that a juror would think, well, this is showing that the phone is somewhere in this purple area, which would not be correct, as opposed to, for example, a timing advanced illustration, which in this case, the witnesses can testify that the phone is somewhere in this band, based on, and then as well as, so in terms of the way the mapping is then done, to make it clear and understand that these red dots are not the specific locations, but rather the towers that are used. I think it's important for the jurors to understand that and have the first part of that analysis there so that there can't be any sort of improper recall by the jurors on that. So then as to the locations on those, then this would be one of the timing advance. So if they don't have the other first part,
Which I think is renewed again.
Excuse me, counsel, I don't think she's done,
Okay, sorry, Judge.
so it's
Ms.
more
Bradley's
so
done.
the fact that the timing advance data and the way it is done, I don't want there to be any confusion to the jurors to saying that this is overstating the evidence. So if I just put in these particular items without the full explanation, because I don't think it is appropriate to do so without the jurors understanding the limitations of the testimony and what the different maps show. So on that would be the specific parts the state would be seeking to introduce, because the locations of the towers are important to how the math is done.
My understanding is the defense is objecting to that exhibit, is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
Does that include the maps?
That does include the maps, Judge.
So they're objecting to it, so I guess you have, in some way, it has to come out how it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, talk to the witness and see if he can, authenticate it. You know, originally I was thinking that you were using him as demonstrative, and I would ask him if that helps illustrate his testimony or not, but if you're saying it, you're not concerned with that, you want to admit them into evidence. So the objection is, what's the objection?
That it's irrelevant. I would also object to the fact that
That it's not relevant?
it is not relevant. It's also referring to Mr. Demon's phone. Nobody's established that number was his. It's referring to Mr. Williams' phone. We've got no testimony that establishes that it's Mr. Williams' phone. If we were to go to the other two reports, I don't know how the court's ruling on them. Again, she's referencing phone numbers, assigning them to people. We have had no testimony or evidence before the court that those actual phone numbers belong to those individuals.
Thank you. So I haven't heard any phone numbers being assigned to any individuals.
If I may, Your Honor?
Sure.
That is why the state introduced the phone slip that has been brought in through the defendant's fingerprints, that he endorsed that as his telephone number, and as such, the state cannot argue that. As to all of the other individuals, those are coming in from the phone records themselves. For example, Dundevius Withers and Chris Thomas, as I went through with the Sprint Records custodian.
So let me start. What is the phone number that's on that corner sheet that you're saying is Mr. Demons?
772-713-9807. And that's why we had the fingerprint analysis done, and they came in and identified that as the fingerprint of the defendant.
Thank you. And what's the next phone number? That's
The next two phone numbers that are the easiest ones to go through, Your Honor, are the phone numbers of Christopher Thomas, 772-713-2341. And if Your Honor recalls,
713341. Should be another number.
772-713-2341. And I can bring up here for Your Honor the specific information on Mr. Thomas's phone that was brought in earlier through the Sprint Records custodian. And there's the phone number at the top of the screen, 772-713-2341. Billing address for Chris Thomas.
All right.
Going down in the same records, because they were produced at the same time. In addition, The email address with it is christhomas86. Again, consistent with Christopher Thomas. The next phone number that is on this particular is 954-371-7895. And that is belonging to an individual by the name of Dontavius Withers.
Are there any other phone numbers this witness is going to be testifying about?
Yes, Your Honor. He would also be testifying on the T-Mobile records to the individual by the name of Jameson Francois, and to go to the subscriber information for Mr. Francois's phone. This is related to Miss Adria Scott, which there has been testimony that Adria, or AA, is the wife of Jameson Francois. In addition, that phone number for Mr. Francois, 954-376-9158, is consistently in the phone download of Mr. Demons and is listed as track. And there are plenty of photographs and things of that nature that would show and illustrate that Mr. Jameson Francois, also known as Track, is the owner of that phone number.
But it's actually in his wife's name.
Correct. And if you, the rest of the subscriber information also says it is a family plan with multiple lines.
All right,
Rate
so
plan, family, unlimited, 2 lines included.
on the subscriber information for the first phone that you're suggesting is Mr. Demons, what does that subscriber information look like?
That comes back to his mother, Jamie King.
So let's go back now. What's on I don't know what the exhibit number was. Did you print out anything on?
Hey, spam if I miss anything. I gotta go get coffee. I gotta order coffee. All right, I'll be right back.
Full printouts on the phone, not all of which have been entered into evidence at this point, Your Honor.
But what's in evidence so far?
I can pull that up and just take a moment. This is in State 64.
This is the extraction.
That's correct. For example, 954 6. Three, 7, 6, 9, 1, 5, 8. There are 1,129 messages between the phone owner, Mr. Demons, and other individuals in which Mr. Francois is a participant in those conversations.
So again, you indicated this is Mr. Demon's phone. You just told me the subscriber information reflects that it's his mother's phone.
The plan is paid for by his mother. His mother's phone is in here. She is listed under Brazy, B-R-A-Z-Y, lady, and that's the 772-501-6942, which is listed as an additional number subscriber on the phone for Mr. and the phone records from T-Mobile for Mr. Dimmons.
Judge, I just want to point out, she's saying that these are messages between Mr. Demons and various people. This cell rate actually tells you, like she stated, like it's going to track, but it's coming from young Sat Chaser Howard, and he's registering as the owner of the 9807 phone, which in these reports keep going back to Mr. Demons, but under cell rate is showing young Sat Chaser Howard.
And so in further showing as to who owns the phone, we can look at all of the videos and images of Mr. Demons, of which,
Okay, real quick break.
in terms of information as to user accounts that are on this particular phone, you have YNW Melly booking at gmail.com. You have YNW Melly a Twitter account. You have YNW Melly an Instagram account. You have Melly.Montana, the Snapchat account, which the Snapchat is already in evidence of showing that one. You have Jamel.Demons, a Facebook account as well on that. In terms of the content of the messages themselves as well, show that this was Mr. Demons' phone and that he is sending out information and things personal to himself on this. So there are multiple different types of information to show them.
Judge, if I may, if we were to actually go through all of these, I've informed the court before, you're going to see messages from both of the deceased to their girlfriends, to other people. There's no question that our client had used his phone, but so did all his friends. So this was a phone.
By the way, I'm not to like go back to a topic I just kind of finished in the Taxstone and Troy Ave thing. From what I'm hearing, the judge came down extra hard on Taxstone because, again, just think about even the Tory and Meg situation. Imagine if Tory's defense was, I ain't shoot Meg. Meg shot herself. Taxstone's defense was, Troy Ave had the gun. Troy Ave did the shooting. So essentially, they were blaming a victim. Troy Ave got shot. So Troy Ave is technically listed as a victim, even though he got charged too, right? So he got shot in the initial incident. He then committed a crime by chasing Taxstone out the room with the gun in his hand firing. So I think the judge was especially, harsh because when you blame the victim for shooting himself and shooting and killing his bodyguard, you're playing in front of people's faces, right? Like, come on, bro. Like, you think we're just gonna go with nigga shot himself and killed his man's like just randomly? So I think from what I'm hearing, that's part of it. Anyway, let's get back in court.
Was Mr. Demon's phone, that's the 713-9807-772 area code. And you had, there was one that was listed as a Christopher Thomas phone, another one as a Mr. Withers phone, and another one as Francois, also known as Track's phone. I haven't seen one as being on Mr. Williams. Am I mistaken?
Yes, Your Honor, there was one on Mr. Williams that was on the initial report. That is the 954-248-9081.
954-248.
9081.
And that's Mr. Williams, one of his students, you're saying
Yes.
it's his phone?
Correct, that phone, and defense counsel is well aware of the fact that the phone that Mr. Williams had at the time of his death was recovered, and a full file system extraction was done from that phone that shows it was his phone on that, and as well as the fact that the Celebrate extraction that we just went through also has Mr. Williams saved under the name of Twin in the phone of Mr. Demmons, in which there's discussions back and forth that identify the 954-248-9081 phone number as that of Mr. Williams. And that there's discussions, for example, that they have gone on trips recently. They had gone to, I believe it was Detroit. And there's then again photos of Mr. Williams on the phone of Mr. Demmons in Detroit that are sent back and forth on that.
Regarding this witness, is he going to testify regarding Mr. Williams' phone?
He's going to testify to the locations of that particular cell phone,
And
yes.
they're going to be identified by phone number?
At both.
Anything else?
No.
Anything else?
Just, if you're gonna let it in for demonstrative purposes, I would say at the very least that the names are stricken from the reports and or redacted, sorry. And we refer to only the phone numbers, not to the individuals.
Thank you. So we're going to bring the jury in now. As far as that demonstrative, I'm getting conflicting information. I don't want something going before the jury about this is Mr. Demmons' phone or this one's phone. There's circumstantial evidence to that effect, but I'm not putting that in evidence that way. Just show the portion that shows the maps, and you can talk about the maps and the other things, but leave out the portion that has at the bottom, or I forget if it's the bottom or top, that identifies Jamel Demmons' phone.
So-
Chris Williams, just use it by the phone.
Use it by the phone number. Okay, that's
Alright.
not a problem. So I think I would need just a couple of moments
All
to
right,
adjust that.
go ahead.
Okay.
We're in recess.
Thank you, Judge.